Hi, I'm Nick Maurer, and I play music around the Cincinnati area.
All right.
I'm doing it again too.
That's good. So can you give me a little bit of your background? Where are you from?
Yeah, I'm from, well, my family's from Cincinnati. I was born up in Ypsilanti, Michigan, and I lived there for a few years when I was a little kid. But then we moved back to Cincinnati, and I grew up in Blue Ash. I went to Blue Ash Elementary, and that's a cool town. I like Blue Ash a lot, and actually a lot of my songs, or really all my songs, take place in Blue Ash, around like the Kroger parking lots and like the weird like woods, where like the old condos are that no one lives in anymore, and the bowling alley and the Taco Bell and stuff.
How young were you when you got into music?
I've always been into music. I've got a family that's really into music. They don't really play any instruments, but they really enjoy music. And my dad listens to all kinds of music. He's really into like Jamaican ska, like from the 50s, and like just weird stuff from around the world. And then my mom likes like 90s folk stuff and 80s music. But the first music I really liked when I was like 4 was the Monkees, and I really dug the Monkees. And I had this CD I'd listen to all the time, and I still like the Monkees. And people shit on the Monkees. They say they're not a real band, but like they all play their instruments, you know. They all make up the songs. Am I allowed to say shit? Probably, okay.
Yes.
Yes.
We've got that cleared, right? We're cleared for that.
I went to Blue Ash Elementary, and I remember there was a mariachi band that came to my class one day, and I think that kind of did something to me. And then, you know, authors would come in and out. I remember this one picture book writer, Will Hillenbrand, came to class one day, and that kind of got me into storytelling. And then our library at Blue Ash Elementary, there was this really great like folklore section like out on the corner, and that's where I would hang out during like library class. And there's just like, you know, stories from all over the world and ghost stories, and I really got into folklore at a young age.
When did you start playing?
Playing music?
Yeah, an instrument.
I started playing guitar like right after 8th grade. I found there was this old guitar in our basement that I think my mom got at a Goodwill like a while back, and I started to teach myself. I found a CD of Mississippi John Hurt and taught myself copying him, and then I got into like early like Bob Dylan stuff, and then in middle school, before that in middle school, a friend of mine got me into Beck and Daniel Johnston. And that really made me want to make music, listen to those recordings. And then listen to Daniel Johnston and Beck too, they're both kind of lo-fi, but they make their own music and they record by themselves and they put out their own CDs for their friends, and that got me into the DIY style of doing it myself.
So how did you start, before we get into recording your music,
Yeah,
how did you
sure.
get into writing music?
Writing music? I don't know. I've always kind of made up songs, like walking down the street. I never really sit down and like write a song. I kind of just make them up, so I have something to sing.
And you mentioned that you were sort of, a lot of these stories that you sing are from Blue Ash area. Can you give some examples of a story?
Well, just like, I'm not really like stories in particular, but just like places in my head when I sing the songs, they all kind of take place around Blue Ash. Like, I got a song called Teeth and Stones, and I imagine like it kind of takes place on the walk from Blue Ash Elementary back to my house, and you got to walk past like an old graveyard and like, you know, a forest with like needles and a Kroger parking lot and a bowling alley, and there's a lot of interesting people on the way back, and it's kind of just about the people you see on the way back from school. Or at least that's how I imagine it when I sing it. And then I got a song called Bustelo that takes place in the Blue Ash Kroger. The Blue Ash Kroger is really cool. It's one of my favorite places. there's a lot of immigrant communities in Blue Ash, and everyone kind of just congregates at the Blue Ash Kroger, and it's very cool.
What different immigrants have you seen?
I mean, there's a lot of like, I went to school with a bunch of people from Nicaragua and people from Bangladesh. There's a lot of Orthodox Jews. I think from like Ukraine. Yeah.
So when did you start, how old were you when you started to record some of your songs?
I started recording songs, I guess like sophomore year. I started recording things on voice memos. And as I was teaching myself guitar, I would just hit record on the voice memo app, you know? And so I've got like probably like 2,000 recordings on my phone, but most of them aren't very good. But I started recording my own songs. I recorded a song called Waddling Around, like freshman year of high school. And then I made up a song called Old Mattress in a Parking Lot and recorded that in a few takes. Yeah, and then I record just like cool noises that I come across too. And so I started making sound collages pretty early on. And the album I put out, Come On In, has a lot of those sound collages and found sound recordings.
So when you were still in high school, did you try to perform any of your songs like in front of an audience?
Not really. I didn't really feel a need to. I was just recording to make CDs for my friends, and I play for my friends. But right afterwards, I don't know, I didn't have a lot of songs to perform, but as soon as I had enough songs to like, you know, perform for more than 10 minutes, I started playing at open mic nights right after high school. And I came across the Sitwell's open mic on Ludlow Avenue, hosted by Patrick Sopp. And that's kind of like how I started getting gigs and playing shows.
Were you already out of high school when that
Yeah, I
happened?
just graduated. And it was cool. It was like a whole other, it was like the world I've been looking for. It was at the Sitwell's open mic. It was cool.
Did you perform at your high school?
I performed, they had like a music fest at the end of the year.
In what school?
I went to St. X, and like I played, I think 3 songs, and I had my friend on maracas and another friend on like a Casio keyboard that he found somewhere. And I called them the Grocers, and I still use that name for whoever's backing me up. But the first like actual show I played was like the end of the summer, right after high school, and I've been playing at the open mic nights. And I opened for Spoils and Willie and the Six at their album release party. And I had, none of the people that played with me at the last show could make it. So I had my sister play maracas, and I had my neighbor Joel play like a bongo drum, and then his little brother Ian played a double cowbell and some jingle bells, and he dressed up as a ghost. And that was a fun show. But after that, people would reach out and ask me to open for them, and that's kind of how I started playing shows.
So what kind of venues and spaces are you playing in?
Like coffee shops, and I play at the Comet and like Northside Tavern, people's basements. I never really like got into the Clifton like house show scene. It's kind of funny, like I think a lot of people kind of start out in the Clifton house show scene and then build their way up to the Comet and whatever. But I was kind of the reverse. I started playing out at the Comet, but now I'm playing a lot of house show, basement shows. It's kind of funny. I play, yeah, just wherever. I used to busk, like in high school with a harmonica. And I'd play like old blues songs, and then I would just improvise about the people on the street with my harmonica. I did that a few times.
Where at?
I did one like around Finley Market, and then I was trying to get like, I thought there'd be a huge crowd. I heard about the Fringe Festival, and I thought there'd be a big crowd, so I played in front of a theater, but no one was there. And then when I played at Finley Market, they said this butcher came out and told me to leave, and so I moved down the street.
Well, a lot of your songs have a lot of humor. They're pretty funny. I mean,
Thanks.
where do you think you get that aspect of your
humor?
Music? Yeah.
I think it's important to balance out, like, it's important to use humor, you know? It's like a part of, like, I don't think I try to make my songs funny, but, yeah, they're humorous, but I think you gotta balance it out, like, with romance and drama. Like, if you're singing a funny lyric, maybe sing it in a minor key, or, like, sing it really dramatic. It's important to have a balance. I think a lot of old jazz songs are pretty humorous. My grandparents were like old, like beatnik types, kinda, and I'd go over to their house, and my grandpa was always like scrolling through YouTube, like watching old jazz videos, and he got me into the Gershwins and Lead Belly, and like weird folk music at a young age. And like Fats Waller, I think a lot of his songs are pretty funny, or they use humor, you know?
So those recordings that you did, that you recorded on your phone and stuff, you were putting those out on albums for friends?
Yeah, I just burned CDs for my friends.
But eventually that came out as those recordings came out as an album,
Yeah,
right?
and Happy Family Records. Well, the album is called Come On In, and it started out as just 3 songs, and I'd burn the CDs for my friends, and I laid them out at libraries here and there for people to pick up, and I always write my phone number on the back, and every now and then I get a phone call from people that find my CDs. Oh yeah, but after my first show at Sitwell's with Willie and the Sigs, someone in the audience was from Torn Light Records, which is the record store down the street. Not anymore, they moved to Chicago. By the time they were down the street. And Alex York called me up and asked if he could put it out on vinyl, like after my first show, which is super lucky. It's cool to have a community like that. But yeah, that's how my album came out on vinyl.
Can you talk about the artwork on the album?
Oh yeah, it's well, there's 2 different covers. On the first cover I'd used for my CDs was a little drawing of a ghost that I saw written in chalk on a wall. And then I thought I liked the phrase "come on in." It's kind of inviting, so I made him say that with a speech bubble. But for the vinyl, they wanted something more dynamic, so I had my friend Nicole take a picture of me. It was kind of cool. It was in I forget what it's called. It's like an art center, but it's in an old funeral home, like on Central Avenue. And so we did a bunch of photos there. And that's where the photograph came from for the vinyl cover. Yeah, do you want to know anything else about it? Or
Yeah, like
yeah.
So is that available? Can I get that if I live in another city or something?
You can get it. Yeah, it's available here. It's distributed like, I was curious one day, so I looked it up, and I think you can buy some copies in England and Germany, some record stores here and there, like in Chicago you can get it at. I'm not really too sure how the distribution works, but I think you just, like record stores order it, and then they can stock it. But you can get it at Feel It Records on Ludlow Avenue, and you can also buy it online at the Happy Family Bandcamp website. And you can buy them from the trunk of my car, too, on the DL. And I still make CDs of it, though. I think CDs are more convenient. You can listen to them in your car.
So I think you have a show. You've got into radio.
Oh yeah, I've got a radio show.
Your radio show.
Well, I used to like drive around parking lots and blast my music for people to hear. I guess it's like a way to connect with people, but now I don't have to do that because I've got a radio show, and I can just blast my music on the air. And it's on WAIF 88.3 FM, the way radio is meant to be, here in the 513, and it's called Dark Was the Night. And the concept is I got really into going to grocery store, like immigrant grocery stores around town, and they kind of have like an uncanny feeling sometimes, and I was kind of trying to imitate that feeling a little bit. And I play found sound, I play field recordings, I play music from around the world, mostly traditional music, which is something I've been into for like forever. And it's on Sunday nights going into Monday mornings, 11:59 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And right after my show is a show called Eastern Standard Time, hosted by a friend of mine called Chance. And that's a good show too. So if you're pulling an all-nighter, you should tune into 88.3 Monday mornings. Sunday nights.
How do you find some of those found sounds for your radio
I
show?
find them. I go around
How do you
town.
go about?
Well, I always have my phone on me with voice memos opened up, and I usually have it rolling a lot of the time, and I'll just scroll through and find cool sounds that I record. I'm not recording right now, but like I'll go into stores and just hit record, and one time I was trying to find some cool sounds. And I was walking around, St. Rita's School for the Deaf, like on Glendale, Milford. Well, I was walking around there. It was like a really foggy morning in the spring. And I was like walking around their woods. And this is a sound I played on the radio last week. And I hear this big thump, boom, boom. I'm like, what is that? And so I go through the woods some more, and it gets louder. It goes like boom, boom. Like, what the fuck is that? And so then I leave the woods, and I find myself in this big field, and it's so foggy, and the field's kind of on top of a hill, and so you can't really see the rest of the city. It's just like the field and nothing else. And the noise is there. It's like boom, boom. And I look, and what it is, it's these 3 semi-truck trailers lined up, and there's the doors opening and closing in the wind. And so I got a recording of that. But what was interesting is I went over to the trailers and I looked in, and inside was a bunch of skee ball. Like, skee ball, like the carnival game where like you roll the ball up the ramp into the holes. And so I played skee ball for like an afternoon in this foggy field. And but that's where I get sounds from, just from here and there. And if I hear an interesting noise, I immediately hit record.
Do you think you'll ever put an album out of just your sound?
Yeah, I'm actually making one right now. I'm recording like actual songs, but on the side I'm making an album of improvised music and sound collages called Folk Dances from Nowhere.
When can we expect to hear that?
I don't know, maybe like by the end of the year. Yeah.
As I understand that you once worked at a taco truck?
I worked at a taco truck for 4 years. And it was a very good time. It was called, I don't know if I want to disclose the name of the taco truck, but I worked there. We would park, like starting in high school, I started working on the taco truck. I heard from like a friend of a friend that they were hiring. And we would park just around Cincinnati and a lot of like up north, like in Butler County, doing festivals and bar parking lots. And it was cool. And that's kind of where I got exposed to cumbia rebejada, which is this really neat genre from Monterey. And well, cumbia, it comes from Colombia, and it's a mixture of West African rhythms brought over through the slave trade and like indigenous instrumentation. And then the Germans came to Latin America and brought the accordion with them. And so the accordion is used a lot. And the rhythm is like ch-ch-ch-ch-ch-ch-ch. And in traditional cumbia, it's pretty fast. But when the migrants came up north, like in the 70s, they brought their vinyl with them. But the vinyl would get warped in the sun. And so by the time they got to Mexico, the records would play slow. And this new genre was born called cumbia rebejada. And so like, normal cumbia is like ch-ch-ch-ch-ch-ch-ch. but this is like, and there's a whole subculture around this music called Chilombianos with a CH at the beginning. And they wear baggy clothing and indigenous haircuts, and they dance around with their ankles close together, which is supposed to symbolize like how slaves would dance when they were shackled. And it was really cool because the people I worked with on the taco truck were friends with people from the subculture. And so they'd hang out after hours, and we would all dance around to cumbia and drink like 3 in the morning at the end of these big festivals. But it was cool working on a taco truck. You meet a lot of interesting people. You kind of like learn like the language of food trucks. Like you're allowed to trade food with other food trucks. There's a secret food truck handshake before you enter. You have to say ahoy before you enter anyone else's food truck. But I worked on a food truck for like 3 or 4 years, and it was a lot of fun. I was peeling, one of my jobs was peeling cheese, Oaxaca cheese, which kind of looks like a ball of yarn. The way it's made is like they stretch it out and then roll it up in a ball. And it peels really nice. And so I just peeled cheese for hours and kind of just think about nothing, and it was very relaxing.
I understand that you've got an interest in underground world of bucket drumming.
Oh yeah, I got into the bucket drummers. Well, you just hear them everywhere. Like they're in front of the Reds games. They're down the street all the time on Ludlow Avenue. And I don't think people take it as like a serious form of folklore, but it totally is. Like the one guy learned from his dad, who learned from his dad, who learned from his dad. And so it goes back like a few generations. Like modern pickle bucket drumming as we know it, like I'm sure people have always been banging on some kind of bucket like forever. But there's like 4 main bucket drumming groups in the Queen City area, and they all have beef with each other. Like there's the Bucket Boys. So, I mean, you guys know Darius. He kind of introduced me to his world of bucket drumming. And so he's a solo bucket drummer. But there's also bucket groups. And the Bucket Boys it's a father and like his 3 sons. And what's interesting about them is that they tie rope around their buckets and play like drumline beats on their bucket drums. And then Darius kind of sets up like a drum kit around him with various buckets and hubcaps and whatever he can find. And then there's like this other guy who kind of just like beats on a steel pipe that he found. And then there's the cowbell guy who I really, every time I see him, I like go up and like listen to him for a little bit. And then I like leave for like a second, and he's gone before I can ask for an interview. So I'm trying to track down the cowbell guy. But
So you have a project you're working on?
So I'm recording their music, and I'm doing interviews, and I'm trying to present it as like a real form of folklore that should be preserved. Because it's kind of dying as like cities get gentrified, and that culture is kind of going away. So I think it's important to preserve it. I kind of got that ethics from Alan Lomax. You know Alan Lomax? He would go around, like, he worked for the Library of Congress, like, in the 30s up until, I guess, like, in the 60s. But his father, John Lomax, was working in the 30s doing the same thing. But anyway, Alan Lomax would travel around the world with a tape recorder and just make field recordings and preserve, like, endangered cultures. And it's kind of like the only, for a lot of those albums, it's kind of like the only place where you can hear that kind of music anymore, now that all those people have died and the cultures have kind of died with them. But like around 8th grade, I started getting into the Folkways label and listening to field recordings and stuff from around the world. And people, like, that's kind of why I feel weird when people say I'm like a folk musician, because to me folk is like traditional music, like calypso and like Bulgarian bagpipe music and whatever. And I make up all my own songs.
I was going to ask, how would
Yeah.
you describe yourself as an artist?
Oh, I don't know. Just like, well, the way I think of art is like, it's just like a means of communication. And sometimes you can communicate a thought through like a poem, or you can communicate it better through like a song or a dance or like a piece of visual art. So I make a lot of different kinds of art. And it's just kind of like, well, what's the best way to communicate this idea? And a lot of times it's through a song. But I guess that wasn't really the question. I don't know how I describe myself. I play a nylon string guitar, but I kind of play it in like a fast way. I've been calling it sidewalk music. I think that is, or parking lot folk. I don't know.
Do people describe you as an outside artist ever?
Yeah, some people. I think there's a review that came out in City Beat where I think Brent called me that. But I never really got the term outsider art. Like, people called, like, I'm blanking out on his name. He's got some paintings at the Cincinnati Museum. They're like very like two-dimensional. I think he's a black artist. Yeah, I never got that term because like, it's all just art. It's all just people expressing themselves. Like, I guess it means you're like outside of the established art world, but like, what even is that? I don't know. I don't call myself that, but I don't mind other people calling me that. Yeah, I don't know how to describe myself. I don't think there's a way. Like, not that I'm like beyond categorization, but I just don't really care that much to categorize myself.
Well, you mentioned you play acoustic guitar, but don't you play other instruments too?
Yeah, I play. Well, when I perform my acoustic guitar, but I also play like I try to teach myself different instruments. So I play a banjo ukulele that I tuned down to like an actual banjo tuning. And I've been learning a bunch of like, I just kind of mess around. I've been learning a bunch of like Middle Eastern and Eastern European music on that. I really like Turkish music. I've been trying to like teach myself how to do like the microtones on a fretted instrument, which is really hard. But right now I'm teaching myself how to play the penny whistle. And I've got 2 penny whistles and I duct tape them together so one's like a drone note and then I can play the melody on the other one. And I play like some different samba percussion instruments. I used to play with a samba band in Burnet Woods. I played the double a go-go cowbell, which is a 2-toned cowbell. Yeah, I play a bunch of little instruments. I've got some jingle bells in my bag. I'll probably put that on my knee when I play for the video. But my main instrument when I perform is my guitar.
Do you play those other instruments when you're performing live?
Yeah, I play the banjo. Sometimes I'll open up a show and play like some droney banjo stuff. But that's mostly like instrumental music. It's hard to make up songs on other instruments besides my guitar. But I've been trying to get better at it. I think the guitar's kind of limiting because I only know so many chords. So I've been trying to just make up songs like walking down the street without any kind of instrumentation and then trying to worry about the arrangements later. But yeah, my guitar is my main instrument.
Now, talking about your live performances, I think you get the audience to get into your show, right? Can you talk about what you do in some of your show? Can you describe like your?
I think we have we have jump rope competitions at our shows. We've been doing that, I guess, for 2 years now. My band is called The Grocers, and it's kind of just whoever can play that night. I tell people I've got a group chat with like 30 people, and I just say, who can play tonight? And then like 2 people will respond, and those will be the Grocers for that night. But yeah, and I've got a song called Little Bitty Man where I sing it a few times, and then I make the audience like remember each line, and if they screw it up, we start all over. One time we had a show. I had a show last summer where we just jump roped for like 2 hours, and while the band played like samba rhythms, and it was very like trancey. It was hypnotic. Everyone was like it was kind of like real like. I've never been to like an evangelical church, but I can imagine it's kind of like that, where everyone's just like in a frenzy, jumping around, and it was very cool. I can see the appeal. But yeah, we jump roped for like 2 hours one show, and the winner was this girl who I think had just like done like acid, and she was in heels, and she did 200 jumps, and that was very cool to see.
Are there other musicians in town that you like collaborating with or playing with? Anybody
Yeah, I mean, the
comes to mind?
Cincinnati scene's super tight. I think it's easy because I kind of play generalist music, so I can kind of just jump around different scenes with ease. I try to collaborate with everybody. Right now, I'm putting out a few songs in a few weeks, and for the cover, my friend Spider Vandelay is doing the art. He's a multidisciplinary artist in the area. Super cool. And then I'm recording some songs with Julian Vanass, who is in a few bands around town. It's a cool little community. Everyone kind of just collaborates with everybody. Everyone plays shows with everybody. I like the music scene where it's at right now.
Will you say there's different pockets of the music scene?
I guess so. I mean, it's like the future shock people, like the Surfs and the Dren, and that's kind of like a friend group. They all play in each other's bands. But I played a few shows with them. And then there's like the Clifton house show scene that I don't know too much about. It's like college kids mainly. And then there's like, I don't know. There's like Pity Xerox is a really good band right now. Houston Woods. I mean, Artificial Go just put out some cool stuff. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's like little pockets, but they all kind of intertwine with each other, you know?
What about like venues like the Comet you mentioned in
Yeah.
North Side?
Yeah, like the different venues. Yeah, there's the Comet, there's Northside Tavern. I used to play a lot of shows at Design Collective, but that's kind of gone downhill. Different basements and backyards, you know. I did a few shows at Sitwell's besides the open mic night. The Box Elder Community Room is super cool. My friend Pedal Miranda just opened that up like a year ago. It's 2 doors down from the Comet, and it's just like a big empty room, and you can do whatever you want in it. Host your event, host your show. I think the Cincinnati Socialists like have their book club meetings there. It's a cool spot.
Do you have somebody that you haven't collaborated with that you want to, like a future, somebody you want to work with in the future that you haven't yet?
I don't know. Like I kind of suck at jamming with people. I think Spider and I talked about doing like some improvised music where I just play my droney banjo stuff and he plays like a floor tom and like stuff like hooked up to like contact microphones. But I don't know. I'm kind of doing my thing right now. It's fun. I mean, the Grocers are collaborative. Like it's always like new people. I'm constantly teaching people my songs. It's always different people at every show, backing me up. So I think I like the idea that anyone can make music. That's kind of the basis of what the Grocers are. Like I'll just pull people from the street and ask if they want to play maracas. And so I guess to answer your question, just whoever wants to play with the Grocers next week is who I am looking forward to collaborate with next. Yeah.
So what are What's your future projects? What do you got? What do you want to? What's the next thing you're working on? You got other things too?
Yeah, I'm recording an album right now with some like the newer songs. I haven't really recorded much since high school. The last album was like all made with voice memos, and I'm kind of taking the same approach, but I'm recording through a microphone into the voice memos. And I'm also recording some songs with my friend Julian. Those will probably be released later in the year. So I've got this residency at the Comet in August, and I'm playing every Tuesday for like 4 weeks. And I'm trying to, I want it to be more than just a series of shows. I want it to be like, in my mind, when I perform the songs, like I see images that kind of pop up, and like different emotions pop up, and I want people to like experience those images and those emotions too, like in a visual sense. So I'm collaborating with River Rat Puppet Collective, and we're making puppets for a few of my songs that will be dancing around, and this is the second time I've collaborated with puppeteers. I did shadow puppets with Abby Palin, who's big in the puppet scene, and for a music video called Teeth and Stones that came out like a year ago. And then I'm trying to have, like, I want it to be a big showcase of Cincinnati musicians, so I'm pulling from different genres. I'm gonna have like the guys from Artificial Go do like an improvised set. Jay Hill is gonna rap. I'm gonna have some bucket drummers. I was trying to get a children's choir to sing, but they didn't respond. And then different, punk bands. I think Shinola and Badman are gonna play, and this puppet company is gonna perform. So it's gonna be people from all the different scenes coming together for this residency. And I'm looking forward to it. It'll be very cool.
All right, we got one last question
Sure.
for you. Advice to other musicians.
Advice to other musicians? Like, you can just do it yourself. Like, you don't have to like wait around for like a label or like an opportunity. Like, just play wherever you can and when you can. There's a lot of good open mic nights. Sitwell is just kind of dwindling down, but I think it's kind of coming back up. Yeah, play at open mic nights. Get a bunch of friends together and put on your own show in your backyard. And be down to collaborate. And also, I think just like advice for artists in general, like this is something I was thinking about like yesterday when I was eating breakfast, is that like just because an idea is like, it comes easily to you, or it's obvious to you, doesn't mean it's obvious to other people. Like, so many times I'll shoot down a lyric or an idea for a project and just be like, oh, like everyone thinks that way. Like, that's so boring of a thought. But like, I don't know what other people think, And just because an idea comes naturally to you doesn't mean it's obvious to other people, Yeah, just be down and collaborate with people. It's very fun. And go to the public library.
Do you remember the moment you found out you were going to be on, your name was going to be on our stairs at the library?
Yeah, well, I saw that a few of my friends' names were on the wall. So I came just to see like the names of my friends and their bands. And I was looking around and I saw my name, and it was a total surprise. And it was really special because I love the library so much, and it was like, and in my community, I love it so much, and it was kind of like just like a cool way. Like it was nice to like feel like someone's noticing. It was cool.
And you use the library, right?
I love the library. I use it all the time. I think I have some fines that they don't do fines anymore, but I have some books that I need to return anyway. But I come here a lot. I use the makerspace to print out posters and to just draw when I got some free time. I do a lot of book browsing. And the renovations are so cool. The Cincinnati room is very interesting. The library is a wonderful asset to our community.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.